Okay, how's it going, everybody? My name is Infamous Isaac, and I'm here with a video on BoJack Horseman Season 6. And I actually scrapped the original recording of it because that video wasn't really a review. It was more of what I was planning to do with another BoJack Horseman video that I probably will put out, but I have to save that for another time because right now I'm here to review the Season 6, and I can't get sentimental while forgetting my objective. So, BoJack Horseman season 6 is a really good season. It's not my favorite season, but it is a really good season. And if it's your favorite season, I don't blame you because this has it all. It has laughs, it has amazing character development, it has awesome music, it has really gut-wrenching scenes. It's just like you really sit there, and once you get invested with these characters, you just can't look away. You've seen them from the beginning, now you'll see them in the end. You didn't see them when they were born, nor when they were growing up, but you've seen them now in the modern day. And you've seen them go from 2014 to 2020. And it's wild. You really see the growth. So, BoJack Horseman season 6 is generally a season that deserves its praise. And I'm definitely going to give it that once I get to the spoiler section. But as of right now in the spoiler free section, I'm giving it a 9 for sure. This season is a 9. Again, it's not my favorite. I made a little tier list here because I'm not going to make a tier list video on this season or this show because I don't feel necessary. I feel like if I do a tier list video, it would be milking it. Like, oh, let me talk about it one last time. And I'm not saying that like the other ones were milking it. No, I genuinely felt like I needed to do that to explain my opinions as thoroughly as possible. But I feel like BoJack Horseman, I talked about it so in depth that I didn't need to. And even if I did, I can just do it here. Season one was the beginning, so it obviously, I feel like in my opinion, it wasn't the best. Season five, I felt like it wasn't that good. I just genuinely didn't enjoy it, and honestly, I would put it below some of these, even though they had some of the best episodes in the series. I felt like season five, when I hated it, I did not like it at all. Even though, again, it had some of the best episodes in the series. Season 2, it was getting better. Season 3 got better. Season 6 was amazing. And then Season 4 was the best. And that's basically what I would say. So, overall, I just feel like I wouldn't need to do that. And that's why I would just have it there and just explain it like that. And I'm not trying to make it a disservice to the show because I am going to do one more video on BoJack Horseman. And I'm probably going to put the lid on it after that because this show, it was a lot. It was a lot. But overall, 9 out of 10. The music was amazing. Visuals were amazing. Creativity always on point. Just the artsy feel that this show has felt unrestrained and it was awesome. Didn't feel like it came at a sacrifice of the story or the characters. So that's my rating for it. And if you've watched this far with only the spoiler free stuff, please go watch it. Please go give it a shot. Because if my reviews are anything to go off of, then hopefully you give this show a shot because I did off of a friend's recommendation, and I'm happy with where I ended. You know, it gave me a lot to think about as a growing man in his 20s, early 20s. So it's really something. It's really something. But let me get into the spoiler section so I can talk about it in as in-depth detail as I possibly can without a script because I'm terrible at this. Spoiler-free section over. So season six picks up where we left off in season five, where BoJack goes to rehab, and we go through this journey in season six where we see BoJack go to rehab, learn how to accept himself, and basically going through therapy in a sense, and just learning what's wrong with him and him trying to change. And what's good about season six is that BoJack Horseman, the man himself, literally goes through so many changes. He feels like a better man, and it hurts because I was talking about this with a friend of mine because we watched two episodes of season six together. It was episode 10 and episode 11, and then I watched the rest on my own today. And it was basically that BoJack. It's sad to say, as scummy as he was when he was younger, his past is always going to catch up to him. And it sucks because the man is genuinely making positive changes in his life, but they still haunt him. Escape from LA. That's too much, man. Time's Arrow. People will never know about that except for Hollyhock. And it's just like, it sucks. It genuinely sucks that once we see the genuine change, it's not like spoilers for Breaking Bad, but it's not like Walter White where we see the progressive change and it just doesn't get better. BoJack genuinely is trying to get better. And with the way that things end in the show, he's not better, or excuse me, he is better, but he's not perfect, you know? He's doing better. He's not good. And that's what I like about this show is that it's kind of realistic in setting expectations for the characters. BoJack Horseman could have had a trajectory of season 1 he's doing okay, season 2 he's doing really bad, season 3 he's doing better, and then maybe season 4 he's doing great. And then that's where it ends. Like he ends in a happy life. He gets married. He lives with his sister, or his sister going to college, and everything's working out for BoJack. But that's not how it goes. BoJack is in prison at the end of this season, and at the end of the show, he has a couple of months left in his sentence before he's done with prison because he got sentenced because of all the crimes that he actually committed. And it's just crazy to think about. Because all of his friends, like Princess Carolyn or Todd or Diane or Mr. Peanut Butter, they're all doing good for themselves. Princess Carolyn got married and she got married to Judah, of all people, which is awesome. I really liked that. I thought that was such a nice thing for Princess Carolyn to get as a person. On top of having Ruthie as well, being a mother, it's just like that. That's really sweet. You know, that's really sweet, and that makes me smile. Honestly, like I Todd, you know, he's trying to rekindle his love with his parents, whether that's his stepdad and his mom. He's also has a girlfriend, an asexual girlfriend, who it's working out with. You know, like things are going good, and it's awesome. We didn't get to see her in the end of the series finale, but I I like to imagine that they're still together. It's just she wasn't there, and he seems like he's doing really good. And I love the fact that him and BoJack had a moment in the end of the episode, which I'll talk about later. But it was nice. You have Mr. Peanut Butter who's divorced, but he's doing better for himself and he's trying to work on himself. He's trying to improve. And my friend told me like he's kind of like a Leonardo DiCaprio type where he just marries younger whenever he gets older, and everybody likes him, but he has problems. You know, like he has problems, and that he needs to work on. And I think that's really cool. I think that's a cool parallel that I never noticed before. There's so many celebrity parallels that fall on deaf ears for me because I'm kind of dense, so I don't see them. But that one kind of makes sense. You know, I get it. I can see it. And then last but not least, you have Diane who also got married, who got married to Guy, and she's living with him in Houston. Go Astros! And they're they're having a good life, and it's just you have BoJack who's in prison, but he's doing better, and it's the main character. Arguably, is doing the worst out of everybody, but he's doing better than what he was before, and that's genuinely a beautiful thing to think about because even though you can look at it and arguably say that it's not much of a step, because the man's in jail, the man has a criminal record now of being in prison in a supermax. But at the very least, he's doing better than what he was before when he was like BoJack season 3, at the end of the Secretariat filming, and him and what's her face, Sarah Lynn go on a drug bender. You know, like I arguably say, or I can say that BoJack is doing better in prison than he was with his freedom in his house with the LA lifestyle. You know, and that's beautiful. I think that's great. The man's changing, and he didn't die. And that's amazing. That's genuinely amazing. But let me continue with what I was saying. So the first half of season 6 is basically BoJack going through and finishing rehab, trying to find himself. And once he's done with rehab, he he basically tries to find himself. He tries to find a way to live his life because he's super sober now. He's doing great, and he's just trying to find a way to live life without having drugs as a crutch, or alcohol, or anything like that. Any substance, and for up until episode 8, he's traveling, he's trying to apologize to people, he's going to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, and he's doing great. He finally stops dyeing his hair, so we see that he has gray hair this whole time because he's from the start he's always had gray hair, but he just dyed it, so that's why he looks old in season 6, because he's always been old. But it's just a genuinely cool change, and it leads him to going to Hollyhock's uh, college and becoming a professor there in acting classes. And that's where the first half of episode or season 6 ends. The second half I'll talk about in a second, but first let me talk about my favorite episodes. Episode 2, amazing episode. Princess Carolyn episodes, like Princess Carolyn focused episodes, are really good episodes. And that's just something that my friend told me about, how like that that's just a common thing. And yeah, it's true. Princess Carolyn is a really good character. If she was well, I don't know if she could be the main character of her own show. Probably. I wouldn't be surprised if she could. But she's genuinely just a good character. And I'm happy that she didn't end up with BoJack, because BoJack was not in a place to marry anybody, nor have children. That man needed to fix himself before he could help raise somebody or help care for somebody, you know? Because the man can barely care for himself. So seeing this Princess Carolyn episode where she's the lowest that she's ever been, and she's trying to take care of Ruthie, she's trying to be a good mother, but she's struggling. It's really hard. She's doing her best. Todd is helping out, but she's only one person, and she's basically doing it alone for the most part. Because Princess Carolyn, my friend told me this, like it's a good way to look at her. She's a character that loves people too much. She cares for people like they're her children, but when she has her own child, it's hard for her to take care of them because it's literally a baby, you know? You have to nurture them. You have to be there every waking moment. And while being an agent is like that, you have two jobs, a mother and an agent. And she's basically forced to choose. And this episode ends in a good way where Vanessa Gecko, of all people, helps Princess Carolyn just talk to her and just be like, this is how you be a mother, you know, this is how we do it. Because I've done it and I can help you out. And Princess Carolyn, funny enough, is like, wait, so you don't actually hate me? And then Vanessa is just like, no, what made you think that? We're just co-workers. What? And it was really nice. It kind of nipped the problem in the bud. Like, Vanessa Gecko was just a normal person. It's just Princess Carolyn fabricated this beef that they had with each other. It is super funny to think about. But Feel Good Story was a good episode for Diane, honestly. I really enjoyed her and Guy's relationship and how it buds over the process of this season. And I think it's nice. I think it's a clever way of having Diane change and just grow from who she is, and what she will become. And it's nice. But episode 4, Surprise, is a good Mr. Peanut Butter episode because it shows that Mr. Peanut Butter is not meant for this. Mr. Peanut Butter isn't meant to date younger people than him. He's too good. He doesn't listen. Excuse me. He's too good and he doesn't listen. So that's an apparent problem. So a surprise is a good episode to show Mr. Peanut Butter's problems and highlight them, and showing how they're gonna come back to bite him in the end, and how, in the end, it's a good thing for him, but it's not a good thing in a sense. So good episode. Uh, mm, I don't want to talk about that episode. The kidney stays in the picture. I thought was a pretty funny episode because it's about Todd, and we didn't get that many Todd episodes this season, where it's talking about his parents, and they get introduced this season. They weren't ever present before, but that makes sense because Todd had a fractured relationship with his mom and his stepdad. But it's basically Todd and his stepdad going to look for Todd's kidney because he sold it to some people, and now he has to sneak in with his stepdad, and a bunch of hijinks ensues. But they basically start the path of rebuilding that connection, and the goal is to rebuild that connection with Todd and his mom. So it's a nice episode. It has a funny joke where it's like, "Oh, Todd, I thought you had a life. I thought you had it hard. Tried to teach you the way that I was brought up, but I remembered, you're white." It's just like, wow, what a way to end an episode. That joke is funny, but like, wow, what a way to end it. That's so wild. But yeah, again, episode 8, like I said, BoJack goes to college, Hollyhock's college, and it's just cool. But one thing that we learn is that people are finding out about BoJack's incidents, escape from LA, and the Sarah Lynn story. And Hollyhock is one of those people that finds out. Where at the end of the episode, she she's talking to one of the guys who was actually at the escape from LA episode incident, where he was the Peter. His name is Peter, right? He and his girlfriend Maddie, after she almost died from alcohol poisoning, he was the one that took her to the ER after BoJack left them there. And he just so happened to meet Hollyhock at the party. And once Hollyhock finds out that BoJack was the one that, did that to Maddie and also traumatized Penny, like after learning all this from Peter, she starts distancing him or herself from him, which it's sad, but it makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Episode 9 through 16 is the second half of the season. Just imagine like Attack on Titan season 3 part 2 or stuff like that, where the show had to be put on hiatus because the writers taking strike, and then when they came back, it was a new group of writers, and they took up the mantle of finishing season 6. And these the rest of these 8 episodes are just them trying to finish the series. And I want to say it right now, like, they did a good job. I don't want it to ever come off like, oh, this series finale was underwhelming and I hated it. The only thing I want to say is that there's certain characters that are missing that I wish were there, and I'll talk about those in the end. But season or the second half of season 2, or excuse me, 6. I can't talk right now. Is BoJack basically trying to do better, but then his past comes back to haunt him, where you have amazing episodes like Good Damage, Sunk Cost and all, or Sunk Cost and all that, Xerox of a Xerox, and The View from Halfway Down. Excuse me, The View from Halfway Down and Nice While It Lasted. Really amazing episodes, but in a sense, basically, you can tell the difference in the writing. Where the jokes are there, they're still funny. I enjoy them, but it's different from the way it was before with BoJack. It's I don't know. It's a difference in writing style. It's not like it's bad. It's just you can definitely notice it, and I don't mind it. Like, because at the end of the day, we still got served quality in this season. So again, I don't mind it being like that. So it's perfectly fine. But BoJack is working in college now. He's in Connecticut doing this college thing with Hollyhock, and it's super cool. But Hollyhock, after finding out about Escape from LA and just Sarah Lynn, or not Sarah Lynn, but Escape from LA, he or she again distanced herself from him, and BoJack notices this and is just like trying to find a way to reconnect with her, but she's she's keeping her distance for good reason, which sucks because they're brother and sister, but it's understandable. BoJack Horseman was not a good person, even though he's trying to change now. There's just blemishes in his past that you can't overlook, because people are who they were, even though they aren't that person anymore. It's hard to forgive and hard to look past that, and it's that thing kind of like in cancel culture where people aren't the same people that they were like 10 years ago, but it's still something that they did and the way that they thought, and it's just like you can't fully not put blame on that person. Obviously, like, they're not the same person. They don't think the same way anymore. They're grown. They've grown more, but it's still something that you have to accept that that person was like that at some point, and you just have to shape your opinion of them, whether you like that person now enough to look past it or whether you don't. and you don't look past it, and that friendship is ruined or that relationship, just period. And it's just something interesting to think about, you know? But once because there's characters in this season, Paige Sinclair and this another guy, I forgot his name, but they're characters that get introduced and they're basically there to show people finding out about the Sarah Lynn story and the Escape from LA story because BoJack is so popular now. So it's coming out, and Paige Sinclair exposes BoJack basically. And BoJack does an interview, and this is where a Xerox of a Xerox comes in, where he does the interview and he's like, you know, I felt really bad about it. He's just talking about the Sarah Lynn story. Escape from LA wasn't mentioned because Penny and Charlotte did not want to be mentioned. And my friend mentioned to me, like, while we were watching it, how notice how Charlotte is really selfish, how she almost cheated on her husband, and how she didn't want that to get out, so she told Penny not to do the interview. And it just goes to show, like, everybody has a bit of BoJack in them, and they just don't show it, you know? Everybody has that piece of them, that negative side that they don't like to talk about, that comes out sometimes when they're pushed to a wall and they're facing an extreme situation. And it just shows they're not that different. They're genuinely not that different. It's crazy, but it's true. But once BoJack does that interview about Sarah Lynn, it blows up and he's seen as a face, you know, a man who's appreciated. But then Paige Sinclair calls the person who did the interview, and she's just like, ask real questions this time because BoJack wanted to do another interview, and they did it. This time it goes completely wrong. Terrible interview for BoJack, at least. It's a great interview to expose what really happened, to get the truth out there. But BoJack, irreparable damage to his reputation. It is bad. That man cannot recover, at least for the foreseeable future. So his reputation's ruined, and now he's hated completely by everybody in the town. And episodes 13 and 14 basically cover that, where we have scenes of BoJack and Vance hanging out, showing how Vance is a terrible person because he's not trying to change, while BoJack is trying to change, but he's relapsing. And then episode 14 is Angela. I hate Angela. I really hate Angela. She's scummy. She's no different from what she was back when she got Herb fired by manipulating BoJack, and it's just like BoJack decided to do that. That was his conscious decision. But if she wasn't a part of that equation, Herb and BoJack would have still had an amicable relationship. But then also, BoJack is also at fault because he never reached out to Herb because he didn't know how to, and it led to Herb dying resentful, hating him, and it's just crazy. But regardless, episode 15, The View from Halfway Down, is a generally beautiful episode. The episode is BoJack after he tries to kill himself at his old house. He's in a coma, right? And he has these dreams where he's at the table with people that he's wronged in his life. Sarah Lynn, Herb, you have Corduroy Jackson, you have Secretariat, you have Beatrice, and you have Cracker Jack. You have Zach Braff for some reason. I don't know why. Oh, he's dead. I forgot. Zach Braff died in season 3. Oh, shoot. Or excuse me, season 4. Zach Braff is dead. Oh, shoot. Well, that's another person. There you go. But yeah, and they're all talking. They're having this really nice scene. And nice in a way of BoJack Horseman. Not like it's super sweet or wholesome. No, like it's nice in BoJack Horseman terms. And basically, we're just getting to see BoJack in his dying moments, like talking to all these people that he thinks he's wronged, which he has wronged. Like, don't get me wrong, Penny isn't there, which is surprising, but you know, there are people there, people who are dead. Yeah, people who are dead. I forgot people who are dead who he's wronged, and it's just like we get to see what BoJack's mind tries to like create this scenario as, where it's all unclear because it's a black goo taking over everybody who's died. And then BoJack is about to join them, but he stops. And we find out later on that like, yeah, again, he was drowning. He went for a swim and he tried to kill himself. But at the end of the day, he lived. He survived. And his reputation is still in the can. And after that, he goes to jail because after they find him, they arrest him and they put him 14 months in Supermax prison. And halfway down is truly a beautiful episode. Like, I'm not doing it justice trying to summarize it. It is an amazing episode that I wish a lot of people could see because it's an episode that shows what BoJack Horseman truly is. A man who's wronged a lot of people in his life and is trying to change, at least in his later years, trying to change. But his past is such a part of him that it's hard to escape it. But he's still trying. He takes it one step at a time. And while he has people there that can help him, they have their own lives, and BoJack can depend on them 24/7. So it's just like he's trying, you know. I see the man who's trying to change. I also see the man who did horrible things to a family in New Mexico. Horrible things to Sarah Lynn. Horrible things to Herb Jones. And was on the receiving end and the distributing end of Beatrice's abuse. And it's just like, he's a fractured man. He's a broken man. But that's not an excuse to be a broken man. To continue to be one, excuse me. But episode 16, the final episode in the BoJack Horseman series, it was nice while it lasted, is BoJack leaving prison for one day to go to Princess Carolyn's wedding, which in turn is actually a second wedding, because the real wedding already happened, but it's whatever. And they, but Mr. Peanut Butter picks BoJack up from jail, and I'll talk about Mr. Peanut Butter later, but it's just nice, you know. It's nice seeing him there, still treating BoJack like a friend, even though BoJack was such an a-hole to him the entire series. And BoJack still doesn't like Mr. Peanut Butter, but he appreciates what he's done for him, and that's just genuine appreciation, you know. Like, Mr. Peanut Butter helped BoJack out a lot, and even though BoJack still doesn't like him that much, he has to admit it. He's a good guy, and it's just like, shoot, man. At least that's the end of Mr. Peanut Butter's arc, where he finally, you know, got divorced with Pickles, and that got sorted out in like a couple seconds in a an episode prior. But he's living his life. He's doing good for himself. I mentioned it early in the episode, but he's doing good. Mrs. Carolyn is next, or excuse me, Todd is next, and Todd's talking to BoJack, and BoJack's just like, it's hard, man. It's hard trying to do things. Who knows if I get out of prison and I go back and relapse? And it's just like, Todd is like, who knows, man? You just gotta take it one step at a time. You won't know what tomorrow's in store or has in store if you can't live today. And it's just, that's not the exact message that he said, but it's just like, you have to keep trying. You know, you have to keep trying to find out whether you will or you won't. And it's just like, it was definitely good advice, and it shows that Todd still cares about BoJack, and that really made me smile because seeing what BoJack did to him and seeing how Todd distanced himself from him really showed like friendship can end like that, at the drop of a hat. A 5 year friendship at that. Wasn't a good one, but it was one that was there and it was prevalent and it was important. But next is Princess Carolyn, and it's just BoJack and her talking, and it's them talking about their past, how Princess Carolyn's married now, and how things are gonna go in the future. And it's just BoJack and her talking, having a good time, and solidifying their friendship. Like, if BoJack had to had to like had a gun pointed at his head, right, and he had to mention three people that he was friends with, he would mention, well, excuse me, four people that he was friends with. He would mention all four of the people that he's gonna talk about. Princess Carolyn would be number two or number one. If Diane wasn't there, Princess Carolyn would be number one. But I feel like Princess Carolyn is his best friend. They have a really good relationship that is a healthy relationship now. But they have a good amicable way to end it where BoJack is like, when I get out, if I decide to do acting again, can you help me find people to help me, be my agent? And she's like, I think I know some people. And then lastly, it's Diane, where she's out on the rooftop as usual and she's smoking. And they have a nice conversation. Somewhat nice conversation. It's dysfunctional as always because they're both dysfunctional, but Diane's doing better. And she talks about the voicemail that BoJack left to her on the night that he was gonna kill himself. And it was just basically like, please call me back. And if you don't, just know that you're a good friend and all that stuff, but please call me back. And it's just basically like Diane was like, you left me that voicemail, and I left out the part where BoJack says, if you don't call me back, I'm gonna kill myself. And it's just like she was worried. She was really worried because BoJack is a friend of hers, a really good friend, and he's changing. He was changing, but then he pulls that on her, and it's just like she was in Chicago at the time. Why? What was she supposed to do? You know, how was she supposed to know? She was moving. Her life was changing. You know, and that's a fair point. Very valid point. Diane shouldn't have to deal with that anymore. But she still cares about BoJack, and that's just something that's hard to remove. You know, and it's just like BoJack apologizes, but the damage is done, and they're still friends. But it's best that they don't continue being friends, honestly, because Diane has her life and BoJack has his, and I feel like the ending basically was like kind of telling us that they maybe may never talk ever again. I hope that they don't because if BoJack gets out and he's a better person, hopefully they can fix things. But if not, then I think it's a good place to end it in terms of their friendship. I think they can end it amicably and just go their separate ways. Because BoJack has friends. He has three. He can't depend on them like he used to, but he has three friends, and that's all that matters, you know. If Diane is there or not, I wish her the best for sure. But that's the end of the show. It's Diane and BoJack looking up into the night sky, and there's just a lot to talk about. You know, like this season had some really good creative episodes, like the one Diane episode where she's trying to write a book. And it's really nice. It's really nice. Where it's a stupid piece of crap episode, but for Diane this time, and it's awesome. It's really cool. You have a lot of creativity, a lot of artsy stuff, and it doesn't feel like it's sacrificed at all from the change in writers and staff. And it's just like BoJack Horseman was a really good show. It was a really good show. The characters are amazing. At least the main characters are amazing, which was BoJack, Diane, uh, Todd, Mr. Peanut Butter, and Princess Carolyn. Five characters were all the main characters. They each had their own arcs. They all went through their changes. They all had their lowest points and they all had their high points. Some lower than others, and some higher than others. But they all went through it, and they all live their lives now. They're in their own way after they found their peace. At the very least, are trying to find their peace. The road is long, but only you can walk it, because it's the road meant for you. And it's just like, I'm glad I watched the show because it's a lot to think about. It's just a lot to think about in terms of what what you look at when you see people. You know, it's really heavy show, really heavy show for sure. But I'm glad I watched it regardless. Again, the music was awesome. The animation, honestly, when it's good, it's really good, like really really good, and it's better than a lot of adult animations I've seen where it's not trying to meet a quota, and it's awesome. I really like that. And it's not like I'm saying that to be like, oh, angsty or whatever, like, oh, I'm contrary and stuff like that. No, like, it genuinely feels like this show came from people who really care about the the characters in the show and the world and all of that. Just like it feels like it came from it was a labor of love. What I'm trying to say, it's a labor of love, and I really enjoy that. But like I said, this season was great. But my gripes with it, my grievances were Paige and her assistant buddy, who was partner, me and my friend were talking about it, and just like how they were funny. They were really funny characters, but they were characters that should not have been in season 6. This season was so heavy with its tone and just how important it was for the characters. It was the series finale. But Paige and the other guy should not have been in this season. They should have been in like season 5 or season 4 even. Well, nah, not season 4, not season 4, but season 5 for sure. Like, or somewhere before that. It just feels like they shouldn't be there, and because they're comedic relief, yeah, but that comedic relief, like my friend said, undercuts that seriousness. And it's not like the seriousness suffers from it. It's just it is lessened because of it, and it sucks because those characters are good. They're funny. They're generally some of the funniest parts of the show, but it is true. It does undercut the seriousness of some of the scenes. That kind of sucks. At the very least, it doesn't happen until like it doesn't happen for episode 15 and 16, but for the whole season, it's just like they're there, they're a presence, and they're really smart. They're good at their job, but that comedic relief just doesn't. It feels out of place in certain times, which sucks. And then a gripe for me was actually Hollyhock not being that present in the series finale, which sucks because it it hurts. Genuinely seeing her distance herself from BoJack after her growing so close to him and then growing apart. It genuinely sucks because Hollyhock and Princess Carolyn were two of the people that genuinely made me like feel warm when watching this show. When Princess Carolyn was talking about BoJack going or her going to BoJack's rehab visit and how she wasn't invited and Mr. Peanut Butter was. And he was just like, I didn't think you would come. And Princess Carolyn was like, you know I'd come. Why wouldn't I? And it was just really wholesome. And then the other one was Hollyhock hugging BoJack when he arrived in Connecticut. And it was just like, aw. But then you realize the letter from Hollyhock probably was her distancing herself from him. And the fact that he kept leaving voicemails for her. And as she changed her phone number. And it's just like, yeah, she's probably done with him. And that sucks. That genuinely sucks because Hollyhock is one of the few good influences in BoJack's life. And it hurts to see that just end there. But he his past caught up with him, and that's just something that we have to look at and accept. But overall, season 6 was a great season. It was a really good season, probably my second favorite season. Well, actually, yeah, my second favorite season for sure. And again, I'm just glad I watched this show. There's a horse-shaped heart or void in my heart now that will never be filled, like the many other holes that will never be filled from all the shows that I watch that I really enjoy. But I wouldn't have it any other way because as corny and sappy as it sounds, it really was the journey. Watching BoJack Horseman and seeing where things would lead, how things would end, and then getting to the ending and just being like, the best part was the journey, you know? And that's not to devalue the ending because the ending was great. I really enjoyed it. But the journey was the funnest part. Falling in love with the characters and laughing and just having a great time. It was just like I I genuinely enjoyed myself watching this show, and I would never sell that or give that away for the world. It was awesome, and let me just end it here. I had a great time. Thank you all for joining me on this journey, and I'll be here with another video, another series to cover. It's gonna be some short ones, gonna be some happier, lighter ones, but for now, this has been Infamous Isaac reviewing BoJack Horseman. Hope you all enjoy, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.